Okay, here we are going to identify the inverse of these three functions. So we want to remember the steps in the process for finding the inverse. So the first step is that you are going to write your f of x as y. So that's step one. Step two is essentially the definition of being an inverse. The inverse means the x and the y components are swapped. So if you're the inverse of a function, then the x and y swap from the original function. So for us in this function, we are going to swap the x and the y value in this equation. So my first step is to write f of x as y. My second step is to swap x and y. And my third step is to solve for y. So the inverse function would be x minus 3. And the inverse notation is written as f inverse of x, where it's like a -1 exponent. So either answer is suffice. So rewrite your f of x as y. Swap your x and your y. And then figure out how to solve for your y. So on this particular equation, I need to solve for y. I can't even begin to get to y as long as it's underneath that radical. So in order for me to get rid of the radical, which is the first thing you have to do, I need to bring in an exponent, because exponents cancel out radicals, radicals cancel out exponents. So because I need to get rid of the cube root, I am going to raise both sides to the third power. So on the left side, I have x cubed. On the right side, the radical and the exponent cancel each other out. So I'm left with y minus 4. Now I can move the 4 to the other side of the equal sign. So if I'm trying to get y by itself, it's a minus 4, so I would plus 4. So x cubed plus 4 equals y. And that would be the answer. And remember your inverse notation, just in case you see that. Alright, so then on the last one, you should pause it and see if you can do it. Okay, so on the last one, this is what we should have. We write f of x as y, we swap x and y, and then we just solve for our y value. So we will subtract 3 and then divide by 2. So x minus 3 divided by 2 equals y. And that's how you do inverse functions. It's 3 steps. Just make sure you know how to solve for your variable.